Well, good morning. Glad you're all here. I trying to think of something fun that I hadn't done for a while, and I decided to pull out my book, The Four Agreements. And I know a lot of you heard of this or read it before, but it's one of my favorites, and it's based. Well, it's written by Don Miguel Ruiz, and he is from Mexico. And he talks about the Toltec philosophy, or their way of living and spirituality. And I think it's really interesting. And he says that that you know the Toltec were science and artists who formed a society to explore and conserve the spiritual knowledge and practices of the ancient ones. They came together as masters and students at the ancient city of pyramids outside Mexico City. I don't know how to pronounce it. Teotihuacan. Teotihuacan, if any of you have ever been there. And it's the place where man becomes God, it says. So they based their way of living on four agreements. And I just wanted to share what agreements are. And agreements in his mind are things that you agree to. So you base your life on these agreements. And so he's saying that some of the agreements that we've adopted for ourselves really are based on nothing. It's just because society said that you had to do this. And so, but we've agreed to it and we've lived by it. And so we need to rethink that. And so I'll just take the first agreement. So the first agreement is be impeccable with your word. He says the first agreement is the most important one and also the most difficult to honor. It's so important that with just this first agreement, you will be able to transcend the level of existence I call heaven on earth. So being impeccable with your word sounds very simple, but it's very, very powerful. Why your word? Your word is your power that you have to create. Your word is the gift that comes directly from God. And he quotes the Gospel of John in the Bible, speaking of the creation of the universe, says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word is God. So through the Word, you express your creative power. It is through the Word that you manifest everything, regardless of what language you speak. Your intent manifests through the Word. The Word is so powerful that one word can change a life or destroy the lives of millions of people. And he goes on to talk about how Nazi Germany, one man with his words, really affected the whole world. So what is important to see is which kinds of seeds our mind is fertile for, and to prepare it to receive the seeds of love. So I read a quote by, how do you pronounce his name? Jabril Gibran, yeah, whatever. Khalil Gibran, and he said that if between people saying what they don't mean and people not saying what they do mean, a lot of love is lost. It's kind of the same thing. So be impeccable with your words. So think about that and close your eyes. And just turn inward for a few moments. Check in with each body part, with your brain, with your heart. Our words are very powerful, not only for ourselves, but for those around us. And in the springtime, which doesn't feel like spring today, but it will soon, think of planting little seeds of love everywhere you go. You never know where they will germinate and sprout. Please bring hands to heart center. May you plant wisely in your little corner of the world. Be impeccable with your world, with your word. If you do that, you'll be much in a much better place to feel and see the grace that's always around you and within you. Please lower your hands, open your eyes. And let's just start by sweeping the arms up, stretching up, feel your sits bones, and then twist to your right and your hands down. Little twist. And then inhale, sweep back up, and twist to your left. And let's do that one more time. Inhale, twist up to your right. And inhale, twist up, twist to your left. Inhale, back to center, and fold forward. Stay for a breath or two. Okay, come on up. Bring your arms out to the side. And with your right arm, just start at the shoulder in inner spiral. So you're going to turn shoulder in and just rotate that arm, and then go to the opposite way with your left arm. And then just kind of stretch to the side. And come on up and reverse that. So inner spiral, opposite way, outer spiral, right arm, stretch, and do that again. Oh. And again. Oh. Good. And come back to center. Stretch your arms up. And bring hands down through heart center. And come into all fours position. and just move through some cat-cows, being very mindful. And then pause with a flat back. It's going to be a little different. Extend just the right leg. Really engage your core. And then working the hamstring. So I like to flex the foot. You're going to bend your knee and hug your heel as close as you can to your bone without losing the core. Good. And then very slightly, you're going to inner spiral your leg, but you're not going to feel the knee move, just the foot moves out to the right side. Good. And then bring the foot back to middle and just rotate that right knee in a circle. So the hips opening up, move it in the socket. Good. And then extend it again. Bring it across to the other side. So right foot's on the left side. Think of really long spine and then maybe walk your hands to the left. And possibly even lower to your right elbow. Your shoulders still stay square, but reach. So lower to your elbows and then reach the right hand. So you have to really notice the balance, but feel the stretch all the way along the right side. Oh, so good. And then come on back up. Come on your hands and lower your back knee. It'll tuck in behind your left knee. Widen your feet and sit back a little bit for that bakasana stretch on your hip. You don't have to go all the way back. Just feel a nice stretch. And then come back forward. Bring your right knee back around so you're in all fours. And sit back to a child's pose. And sit all the way back on your heels, if possible, with your knees. Take a couple breaths. And then this is going to be a little bit different. You're just going to come up so that your right hand is right in the middle of your, centered on your body. Left hand comes to the back of your head. And then bending the elbow a little bit, think long spine and twist to your left. Press your head into your hand. And then just very gentle, small undulations in cat-cow in your low back. Good. And then unwind. Come back up to all fours. And we'll do that on the opposite side. So extend the left leg. Engage the core. You can feel, am I really engaged? Bend the knee so the heel feels like it's going to touch your bum, but of course it doesn't really. And then keeping the knee where it is, bring just the foot out to the side so you're inner spiraling that leg. You can feel it in your hip and that really long muscle. Good, and then bringing it back to center, just make a big circle. Let's your left knee. Try to keep your hips square, hug your right hip in. Remember how we do that? You can switch directions if you want. We're gonna work on quads and hamstrings a lot today. Good, extend the leg again. Bring it across to the right side. And then walk your hands, maybe come to your elbows. Keeping really strong and long in your spine, maybe extend the left arm. You feel complete stretch on the left side body. Couple breaths. And come on back to center. Ground your knee down behind your right knee. Widen your feet a little bit. And stretch back. Your right knee will lift as you move back. You'll feel it in your hips. Bakasana. Good. Come back forward. Take your left knee out. So you're in all fours. And sit back to child's pose for a moment. I like to have my big toes touch. And then coming up slightly, left hand right in the middle, right hand behind the head, and press head into hand. That'll engage your core. Twist to your right, and then very subtle cat-cow. Trying to get some motion there in the low back, but it's connected motion. Good. Unwind. Come forward, all fours. And one more little tricky thing here. Extend your right arm and thread it underneath, or thread the needle really round the right shoulder. Around the upper back, it feels really good. And then unwinding, we'll switch sides. The left arm extends and thread it under. Round the left shoulder, palm facing up, round the upper back. Get a nice stretch there. And then unwind, keeping the toes curled under. Sit back on your feet for a moment. And if that doesn't feel good, you can just do it on your knees too. So stretch your arms up, bend your elbows, and as you do, think long spine. I'm just gonna open my heart and open up a little bit. Rib cage stays back. And then on your next exhale, round the upper back. Keep the length, bring forearms together. Good, do that again. Inhale, lift the heart, open up, and exhale. Really lengthen the side body, round the upper back, tuck the chin, closed. Good, make your way forward to all fours again. Swivel your feet to the side and come to your backs for a moment. Getting warm now, right? So So take a moment to feel that. We're going to do a little abdominal bracing. So bring the knees over the hips, bring the shins parallel to the floor, flex the feet. Notice you still have a curve. Draw the low belly up, bring your hands to your right in the middle of your quads and press away and up a little bit and resist and breathe. Keep breathing. You don't have to do it so hard that you feel like you can't breathe. Just a little strengthening. Keep the feet flexed. Two more breaths. Think really long spine through the top of the head. And then relax, hug the knees in just for a moment. And then think, I've got that long spine. I'm going to tuck the chin and really round up. Try and tuck, bring knees to nose. So you have a long spine, but you're curving the other way. Good. And then come on back down. Bring the knees over the hips again. Feel the curve in the low back. Shins parallel to the floor. Flex the feet. Abdominal bracing again. So press up and away. I like to really notice my sit bones grounded, lengthening through the top of the head, using both legs evenly. Now just bring both hands to the left side. Extend the right leg. One more breath. Bend that leg. Bring both hands to the right thigh. Then the left leg. Bend that knee. And relax, hug the knees in. Bring the feet flat for a moment, hands by the hips. Feet right underneath. And lift to a Setu Bandha. Squeeze the glutes. And this, don't squeeze them to lift them high, just squeeze them to feel the hamstrings work. Feel your heart lift. And lower back down. Okay, one more little thing on our backs. You're gonna bring the knees up again and then widen them so that it feels like they're towards your armpits. And then lift your feet a little bit and bring the inner edge of your feet together. Yeah. And then extend your arms up and bring the arms on the inside of your knees. Flatten the hands. And then tuck the chin really round the back so you feel like your bum's lifting and your head and your shoulders are lifting, and squeeze your arms with your knees. Like a really round, long back. Breathe and then release. And grab your feet so your elbows are still inside. Come to a little happy baby. You can roll side to side for a moment. That feels good, right? Maybe even widen, straighten the legs, widen the feet. Good, and then release, roll to your right side. And come back to all fours. One more round of cat-cow. Good, and then pause. Now this time, straighten your feet out. So you're pressing the feet down. And you don't have to widen anything, just sit back on your heels like that and see how that feels. And come on upright. So your feet, I feel all 10 toes pressing down, tops of my feet pressing down. This is an ankle stretch. We might revisit this in a while. And then come forward and move your hands ahead of your shoulders, curl the toes, lift up to your first downward facing dog. And just walk your dog out, just kind of see how your shoulders are reacting, see how your core is reacting, your legs. Artie's loving on your hair. And then step to your feet up to your hands, forward fold. And come all the way up to standing. Okay, we're getting warmer on that. Probably here. All right. Take a little bit wider stance than hip distance so you can feel super grounded in your feet and stretch your arms up. And then bringing your right arm down, just arc. Try to keep the shoulders square to the front. And then come back to center and arc the other side. Good, come back to center and bring hands to heart center. And just kind of shake your arms, shake everything out. Maybe one leg, shake it, and the other leg, shake it. Good. And then come to regular standing. We're gonna do a little bit of balance work. So standing on your right foot, bring your left knee up. And keep it super together as you slowly move the foot behind you. You can do this by wall and find the foot or the pant leg or whatever. Come to a little quad stretch. Lengthen up. Rib cage back. And release the foot. Try not to touch down. Bring the knee forward again. And release. Good. Other side. Find nice strong stance. Lift the knee. Slowly bring it behind you. So you can just kind of adjust the whole way back. Find the foot. Knee beside knee. Lengthen. Releasing the foot. Slowly move it back forward. And release. Good. I'm going to give you another shot at that. But this time, this is an option. You don't have to do it this way. But when you bring the foot behind, grab it with the opposite arm instead of the same side arm. And you can bring the foot, let the foot come across a little bit too. So standing on your right foot, bring your left knee up. Slowly move the foot behind. And then see if you can grab it with the opposite hand. A little bit harder, like fun to play with. Release the foot, bring the knee forward, and release. Okay, other side. Just play with it. Doesn't happen, it's okay. Move it behind. Stand it up. Release the foot. Bring it forward. And release. Good job. Good, now finding your blocks. Bring them to the front of your mat. I'm gonna go this way. And just have them available there for a moment. Standing in Tadasana, just take a deep breath. And then on your next inhale, so you're tuning into the breath, set your arms up, open your heart, lengthen, and exhale, fold forward. And now just slightly turn your toes out. And you can use your blocks here if you need to. I want you to come down to a deep squat. So the kneecaps and the toes point the same direction. And in this particular one, I want you to get low enough that it feels like your knees are kind of on your upper arms, and squeeze your arms with your knees. And if you need to feel more grounded, you can bring a blanket under your heels and just squeeze. Feel the inner thighs engaging, maybe even draw around the upper back. So think long side body, draw back around the upper back, round all the way down through your tail. Good. And then release that squeeze and come back up. Our Uttanasana. And then grab your blocks, bring them to the outside of your feet. Step your right foot back to a deep lunge. It's gonna feel kind of good. Lower the back knee. Hug heel to knee, knee to heel. Come upright. Lengthen up. Get a little hip flexor stretch. Keeping everything engaged, bend a little deeper. The hips stay square, left hip crease is still back. You can stretch the right toes down if you want. It's all over your shirt, you're not gonna be able to wear it. Good, and then touch down. Lift the back knee, step forward to switch. Left foot back. Lower the back knee. We're just kind of methodically stretching out all the different parts. Slowly come up. Feel it and maybe bend a little deeper. Good, now touch down. Step back to all fours with the blocks. And I'm going to give you options here. So for me, I'm going to keep the toes curled under and not use the blocks, but you might want to bring the blocks back by your heels and turn them to the highest height. so that you can really ground down. And then, actually, let's start this way. Stretch your feet long. And if you can't go all the way back, it's okay. You got your blocks there to help you if you need it. You're going to press down into your feet, into your toes, and lift to get this quad workout here. So slowly lower and lift back up. That was 2. Slowly lower. Use the blocks if you need to help you. And lift back up. 4. Use the tops of your feet. Use everything you can to help you strengthen those quads. 5. Keep your spine nice and long. 6. You know when you've had enough. 7. And 8. And then sit back down. Hands on the block. I'm going to bring mine to medium height because I'm pretty open. So press down with your right hand. And as you lift up this time, extend the left arm and come to more of a back bend position. Good. Come on down and switch. Left hand ground. Right arm comes up. Camel pose. I know my quads are screaming at me right now. One more time each side. And think long spine, a little bit of a back bend. And come on down. Good. Walk the blocks back forward. Set them in front of your mat. And make your way to a downward facing dog. Take your time and be methodical so that you feel really strong and connected. Shoulders, core, hips, feet. We're gonna try and do what we did on all 4s, but in downward facing dog with the hip. So you can always choose to do it on all 4s. I'm gonna bring my feet a little closer together and then extend the right leg. Bend the knee towards your bum. Keep the foot flexed. And then see about widening it to the side. So you inner spiral, hug your left hip in though. So it's just working the right hip. Good. Bring it back to center. And then making those circles with the right knee. Try not to lift the hip, just work the leg in the socket. Good. And then extend the leg and bring it down. Good. Now step your right foot to the outside of your right hand. Grab your blocks, bring them on the inside. So you might have to turn the toes out a little bit. You're in that kind of a humble, deep lunge position. And this is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to have you turn your left block to the higher height. And just kind of feel that you're really connected. Bring your right hand to your hip and twist. Now, you're going to have to be very mindful. Lift your left heel nice and high. Move your hips up and back to straighten your right leg. And voila, you're in twisted triangle. You can extend the arm if you'd like. Hips stay square. Everything connected. Good, and touch down. You can lower the block again. Lower the back knee. Take a moment in humble pose. I like to move the blocks forward so I can come to my elbows. I'm still squaring up the hips. Good, and then coming upright, come back to all fours. And let's work on the other side. So blocks off the front, downward facing dog. Setting up, I like to bring my feet closer because then I feel more balanced. My hands are nice and wide. Extend the left leg. Bend, hug it in really close to your bum. Keep the knee where it is, but maybe widen the foot off to the left. Hug your right thigh in. Just inner spiraling that, just feeling that. And then bringing it back to center. Just rotate the knee, working that left hip socket. All the muscles and ligaments around it. Good, extend the left leg. And either step it to the outside of the left hand or lower down so you can grab the blocks to step it out. And then bring the blocks under your hands. Turn the right block up. So just kind of, you want it nice and wide because it makes it easier when you have a little more space. Left hand to the hip. Keep everything square as you twist. And then maybe straighten the left leg. Twisted triangle, yeah, good. It's a weird way to get into it, but it feels kind of nice because you got lots of room to move. Rib cage back. Good, bend into the front knee. Touch the block, turn both blocks where you want them. Lower the back knee, lower down. You can keep the back knee lifted or lower it, depending on what you want. I like to not let the knee get in front of the ankle, but maybe broaden it to the side a little bit. Good, and then unwind all fours. I forgot to do one thing when we're in that quad strengthening mode. So come on up to your knees and grab your block. I'm going to keep my toes curled under. Bring the block between your hands. Stretch your arms straight. Press into the block. Think, okay, my heart's coming forward, but my rib cage is coming back, if that makes sense. Send the arms up and twist to your right. Bend the elbows. Keep squeezing. Next, inhale, bring the arms straight up, back through center. Exhale to the left. Bend the elbows. Try and keep the elbows at a 90-degree angle. Keep squeezing the block. Let's do it one more time. Push both knees down as you stretch up. Back to center. And on your exhale, twist. And the elbows keep pressing. Strengthen your core. Rib cage is back. One more time to the other side. Keep both knees really feeling grounded. Bend. Straighten. Back to center. And release. Okay, that made me sweat. Come on up to downward facing dog. I'm going to use my blocks. That way they'll be handy. extend your right leg and step it through to deep lunge now, regular deep lunge. And you can use your blocks to go higher if you need to, but I'm gonna think, lift the left heel high, keep the hips square, lift the hips up and back so the sits bones are back, and straighten the right leg. Pyramid pose. Good, bend back into the front knee. Bring the blocks forward. You might have to step your left foot forward to keep the hips square. So I'm gonna have you do a grounded warrior three. You can either do it, you can do it highest height too. So I want you to use your blocks to press down, but then you might have to move them to get them in the right place. So see, lift your leg and then just check. You don't even have to straighten your right leg all the way. Just check and see, where do I feel like I have the weight right in the middle of the foot? Can I engage my core a little bit? And then see, keep that groundedness, keep the length, maybe extend the right arm back. So you're standing on the right foot, your right arm's back, and maybe extend it forward. Keep the weight right in the middle of your right foot. Touch down, bend the front knee, step back, deep lunge. Good. And step back, downward facing dog. You can use your hands on your blocks here if you want to. Extend the left leg, step it through, deep lunge. Use your blocks. If you have tight hamstrings, lift the right heel high, straighten the left leg, keep the hips square, keep the core lengthening. Pyramid pose. Good, bend the front knee. Come into that grounded warrior three. So I have to bring my right foot forward. I think, okay, hips stay square, shoulders stay square, core stays engaged. Lift the leg, use the hamstring. See if you get the weight right in the middle so that you don't have to use the blocks that much. Your left leg may or may not be straight. You can keep it bent. Left arm back if possible. Maybe extend it. Try and get lighter on your right fingertips. Good. Touch down, deep lunge. Step back, downward facing dog. We haven't done any vinyasas yet, so if you're up for it, do a vinyasa with me. If not, take child's pose. So come forward, plank. Pause there. Lower down, you can lower knees first. Inhale to cobra. Stay for a few breaths, just lengthening, opening the heart. And lower down. And everyone push back to child's pose. Hands under forehead if possible. If you want, resting your hands. Truth is, warrior three is super hard for me, especially after we've been doing all that leg work. But it's always fun to challenge yourself, right? Come back to downward facing dog. And step your feet forward about halfway. Walk your hands back to a forward fold. And take a few breaths there. Inhale, pranam. Exhale, fold. And inhale, come all the way up to standing. So we're going to try bakasana. Now you've done it on your back. You've done it kind of in malasana. Now let's try it. So bakasana is a hand balance. And I'm going to do it sideways. Just watch me for a moment. So I like to put a blanket there just in case you don't have the balance quite right and you might do a head plant. So we're going to just watch me first. So Tadasana, Uttanasana. I like to lift the heels first and then come down to deep squat. And then I work really hard to see, I want to keep my wrists under my shoulders. And my when I lift my heels, my knees come down, and then I lift my bum really high. And just like we've been practicing, you think tuck chin, round upper back, hug in, and then you just slowly move forward, maybe lift one foot, maybe the other. I'm really using my core. Hug the feet in towards your bum, and it helps, okay? So let's try it. I'll talk you through. So come to a forward fold first. Keeping the knees safe, you might turn the toes out a little bit. And then as you squat down, you lift the heels high. Bring the hands, just kind of check. You bring the hands right under the shoulders. They have to be plenty wide, and think down dog hands. Now lift your bum high. Hug your knees into your arms. Think really tuck and round that core. So nice long spine, and then slowly shift forward. Lift the feet. Hug them in. Work those hamstrings. Good. And come on down. Come on down to your bum. How'd that feel? Good. Yay. Okay, I have about a few minutes left. I wanted to do a few things on the floor. So sit on your blanket. I'm going to. You don't have to, I guess, if you're feeling really open, but I like to. And come to a wide stance and just kind of inner spiral. Press the heels down, press the sit bones down. Actually bring your hands behind you and just feel like you're going to lift your heart, but keep the rib cage engaged. Lift really high. And then feel that as you bring the hands to the inside and maybe fold forward. Hug the heels towards each other. Kind of increases that stretch because we didn't really stretch inner thigh too much. And come on up. Bring the hands behind you again. Bend the knees, bring the soles of the feet together. And just see, so you're pressing the soles of the feet together. Feel the sit bones grounded. You feel nice and long in your spine. And then use the strength of your core to try and widen the knees. And then you can bring the hands forward if that still feels good. I like to bring them under my ankles because I have crappy ankles. Same thing. But this time you can think, oh, I might be able to, with that nice long spine, maybe I can round over the feet. And slowly come on back up. Bring the knees together. Move off the blanket and go ahead and lay on your back. Turn the lights off. Lay down. Maybe that's good enough. You can still see me. And just take notes. You worked your legs hard. You worked your core hard. Bring your feet a little wider. You worked your hips a lot. With the arms in cactus or T, do a few windshield wipers. Good, and then pause, bring the feet right under the knees. Satu Bandha again. So think the bones are grounded, rib cage is back, but I still have the curve. I'm lengthening, hands by the hips, lift. Feel how strong your hamstrings feel as you try to hug the heels towards your body. Squeeze the glutes. Keep the hip creases back though. So you're working your quads as well. You can interlace underneath if you want. And lower down. Hug your knees into your chest. Round into a little ball just like you did. Feeling maybe, hey, bakasana position. And then lay back down. Bring your knees wide, lift your feet. Elbows on the inside for happy baby again. Just play a little bit. Kind of massage the low back as you roll side to side. You can straighten the legs if you want. Playing. Excuse me. And then bringing the knees back in, stretch out all the way long. And stretch your arms over your head to just really make sure you have that length. And then settle in for Savasana. Notice the floor supporting you. Think of yourself as a little seed. And feel like you're extending roots down from all the parts of your body that are touching the floor down into the ground, growing roots. Grounding down. Spreading a little love and kindness Relax your jaw. Relax your shoulders. Allow yourself to be supported fully. No muscle energy needed. As you continue to rest, I just wanted to share a few more things about the first agreement, being impeccable with your word. He says that the word impeccability literally means without sin. Impeccable comes from the Latin peccatus, which means sin. Highlight. The M in impeccable means without. So impeccable means without sin. Religions talk about sin and sinners, but let's understand what it really means to sin. A sin is anything that you do which goes against yourself. Everything you feel or believe or say that goes against yourself is a sin. You go against yourself when you judge or blame yourself for anything. Being without sin is exactly the opposite. Being impeccable is not going against yourself. When you are impeccable, you take responsibility for your actions, but you do not judge or blame yourself. From this point of view, the whole concept of sin changes from something moral or religious to something common sense. Sin begins with rejection of yourself. Self-rejection is the biggest sin that you can commit. In religious terms, self-rejection is a mortal sin, which leads to death. Impeccability, on the other hand, leads to life. Being impeccable with your word is not using the word against yourself. If I see you in the street and I call you stupid, it appears that I'm using the word against you. But really, I'm using my word against myself, because you're going to hate me for this, and your hating me is not good for me. Therefore, if I get angry and with my words send all that emotional poison to you, I'm using the word against myself as well. So it's being true with your words. Being impeccable with your word is the correct use of your energy. It means you use your energy in the direction of truth and love. If you make an agreement with yourself to be impeccable with your word, just that intention, the truth will manifest through you and clean all the emotional poison that exists within you. But making this agreement is difficult because we have learned to do precisely the opposite. We have learned to lie as a habit of our communication with others, and more importantly, with ourselves. We are not impeccable with the word. Whenever we hear an opinion and believe it, we make an agreement, and it becomes part of our belief system. This little girl grew up, and even though she had a beautiful voice, she never sang again because she was told that she should be quiet and shut up. She developed a whole complex from one small word. This spell was cast upon her by the one who loved her the most, her own mother. Being impeccable with your word. A really hard thing to do. But if deep inside you know what's right and what's wrong, and if you pay attention to that, your words will be impeccable without sin. Khalil Gibran, between what is said and not meant, and what is meant and not said, most of love is lost. And then deepening your breath. Start to pull up your roots and make small movements. Tuck your knees in towards your chest, roll to the right side. Take your time, pushing on up. And I close with a blessing. As I bless all I encounter blesses me. Joy and well-being pour forth from my contented heart. I am sourced by divine power. A divine force flows out from me into the world. All I encounter are touched by the divine spark within me, and I am touched by the divine spark within others. Meeting a stranger, I see the familiar face of God. Meeting adversity, I see the hidden face of God. There is no situation so foreign that I do not claim and recognize good working through it and in it. When I encounter sorrow, I open my heart to contain and transform it. I allow the action of loving compassion to alchemize all difficulty into an opportunity to find the hidden face of God and cherish it. Please bring hands to heart center. Thank you so much for practicing today. I bow to that beautiful light in each of you, which shines brightly. It's not hidden. Namaste. Thank you, guys. Have a fabulous day. Boy, I already feel like her hair is like floating all around me. Have a great day, you guys.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank
See ya.
you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.